do need one other thing. You need like the wrap it up light, for the when it's blinking, Michael.
I had talked about getting a little red light that I could control with the phone, just to like 5-minute warning or something.
Or the applause sign.
Yeah.
Why is everyone clapping?
Actually, we do have the applause. Oh no, that's not it.
Oh well, we've added a real.
We had sound effects.
How's it turn off?
I don't. I think I just hit it.
It started the whole loop again.
Okay, there we go.
Nice.
It's off now. So
we learned something.
So
today.
I have theme music now. This is no, I think like I was looking at different apps because it's like I've got a timer on my phone, but I have to do a presentation tomorrow for Shot University.
I want to sit in on that.
I don't know how you get to do that, but by all means, you're welcome
I'm
to.
just going to show up.
Yeah, there you go. Just kick the door in like the Kool-Aid man.
I know the main guy. It's good.
Yeah, they're like, sir, you need tickets. I'll be like, I know him.
Yeah. I'm with the talent.
Yeah.
But
part of the entourage.
I was like, I was looking at my phone. I'm like, I need to figure out how to keep myself from overshooting, because it's an hour block, and they were like, you need to at least have 15 minutes for Q&A. And I have a feeling, based on the topic, that it's like I could probably do like steal a page from Gary Vaynerchuk and be like, I'm going to talk for 10 minutes, and then we'll drive into Q&A, and then the Q&A becomes the presentation in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I built out, I got my slide deck and everything, and I've practiced it, but you get in front of the group of people, and it's like, well, am I going to go faster or slower because I'm now actually in front of the audience?
Yeah.
And
where is that actually?
That's a great question.
Okay.
Because I texted my contact from NSSF, and he's like, oh, we'll have to link up later today when my airplane lands. And I was like, you're not here yet? I thought all the NSSF people were out like
living out here. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, setting this thing up.
And I was like, well, I've been here since Thursday. Where have you been? But
I'm flying a day up.
and I don't know if because if they're coming from Connecticut, like I don't know what the weather situation was like leading up to this. So who knows? Maybe he'd planned to be out here sooner. But when he gets here, I guess I'll find out where I'm going to be, because my anticipation when I first signed up to do this thing was I was like, I'll probably get 20, 30 people, I'm thinking. And he messaged me, was it a week ago? And he's like, we've got about 170 on the registry list for your block right now. And I was like,
what?
Oh.
So, I've done public speaking before, but when you have one thing in your mind that you're like, I'm going to go and talk to 30 gun store owners is not really that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. 170 people, I have no idea who that's going to encompass, So, and it does make it a little harder, because I'm like, does this mean my speech is too specific or too general, right? Like, because you want to make it relevant for what people's situations are. But I have a feeling, based off when I first submitted my outline, he was like, hey, we'd like you to tailor it toward the retailers. Because I was like, I had it, it's like, well, I don't know if their manufacturer's going to be there or retailers. So Jerry and I went through my outline and built the slides and stuff. And I was like, we'll just assume that everybody in there either owns a gun store or shooting range or,
Something.
maybe just a gunsmithing service. But I think for the most part, it's going to be guys like you, It's at this point, and I'll probably mention this in the thing, but it's like you lose so much opportunity to make money by not having a range attached to a gun store.
Oh, yeah.
That it's like, I don't know how some of these just gun stores still function, because
for years before we bought that, we had talked about, me and Maddie decided that the only way we want to buy or have like a gun store, like a brick and mortar, is with a range attached to it, just because they both drive traffic to each other, and they both help support each other, and it's really I can't imagine having a standalone gun store with a decent amount of inventory without a gun range. I just don't.
Especially having like the rental fleet too. Like, hey, if you want to buy a gun, go try all these out.
Yeah, we got like 120 guns in our rental fleet. You can try every single one of them.
And that's like, huge. Imagine trying to buy a car, but you're not allowed to get in it and drive it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And there's tons of them out there. They're little shotgun shack kind of, in a plaza, outside a strip mall. But I guess it's something that if I was going to have to do, I would not want to be a gun retailer, honestly. Yeah. It's like the the parts that always scare me about it is like, okay, you've got the federal government like staring at you.
Oh yeah.
Being a holster manufacturer, it's easy. It's like I don't really count for anything, right? Like nobody's ever going to ban holsters, even. But that experience of worrying about like, okay, you got your insurance, you gotta make sure that somebody doesn't come in and like do the old jewelry store smash and grab where they bust the case and grab a gun and run out the door, right? And it's like those kinds of things. I'm like, I'm just thankful I don't have to worry about it. Plus, I did the gun show circuit for years, and you're dealing retail-wise with that with a situation where it's like the people that are coming in have oftentimes very strong, incorrect opinions about what they need and want, and you have to make that mental decision about whether do I just give this guy what he's asking for or do I give him what he needs, right? Like, and if I decide I want to do the latter and show him the right way, I am committing to a significant amount of effort and time, and for what? Because in a lot of cases, let's face it, in a lot of markets, a new firearm is like there's 10 points on the price there. There's not a lot of margin on the actual thing. So then you're praying that he's also got enough budget for cleaning kits and ammo and holsters and rifle slings and stuff. So, but yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what this presentation goes like, and if they don't throw me out of there. Hopefully,
this guy, he's out of here.
Hopefully, I don't reflexively say
he's
the
been
F
here
word
since
too many
Thursday.
times.
Ian's going to bring like a whole bucket of tomatoes.
Boom.
Just start passing them out.
You stink.
Yeah, well, I mean, in a weird way, that would really liven it up, and then people will talk about it. So that gives me that viral component. So
maybe I will bring the tomatoes. I just want in on some of the deal.
Yeah,
or some cabbage or other medieval vegetables.
He threw a salmon on the stage. It's like hockey games when they throw squids.
Well, it's Las Vegas. There's a lot of seafood to choose from out here. So
it's true.
Yeah, but it's like that's my day tomorrow. Is first thing in the morning. I think it's 10:15.
I can tell you right now because I took a picture of it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, look.
I just happened to read through the SHOT Show magazine. And I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Oh, I know who's teaching that. Wait, I got to scroll back like a day in my photos.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Skylar, he's giving a presentation, Freedom Outdoors up there in Va Beach. I got an ad on Facebook for it. I screenshot. I was like, "Hey, dude, you're famous."
Oh, hey, look, I can tell us where it is too.
10:15
to 11:15 at the Maroon Ballroom Level 3 SSUOT.
Okay.
Do you want me to send this to you?
Yeah, actually, that'd be great. For any of the viewers that are wondering, this is exactly the level of organization I possess in every aspect of my life. So no one's more surprised than me when I show up places. But yeah, that's also going to be an interesting thing because when I finish there, I'll have to have coordinated with one of my buddies to go set my seat before at Yardbird. So like I gotta grab my usual table, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, but it's also something. It's like it's very different. It's the first year I've been to SHOT Show where I didn't buy pass because they issue you a presenter pass.
Oh wow!
So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Also, kind of nice not to have to pay for a badge, right? But and then once that's done, it's like I've got meetings showing off new stuff. I think I've got 2 other little interview things, but I don't know. They're definitely not going to be this degree of professionalism. It's probably going to be more like holding the smartphone in the aisle of SHOT Show, talking and doing an interview on their notes on their phone. But so it's. I'm looking forward to. This is the fun point, right? It's like Schrodinger's trade show, where you're like, this is who knows what appointments and deals are going to come together because it's always like the things you have planned never seem to go directions you think they would, but then there's like the random thing that emerges from like a chance encounter walking through the aisles of the show, and you're like, oh, that turned out to be a really nice opportunity for us. But what's the line from The Way of the Gun? A plan is just a list of things that doesn't happen, or So, what day are you guys here through?
We supposed to leave Saturday. Depends. That is TBD, according to United.
Thanks, United.
I think y'all are out
Saturday morning.
Y'all got Southwest. We
Yes.
waited till like the last minute, so like our between like the days, the 2 or 3 days gap between when I booked and when they booked, like all the United flights had filled up.
Yeah, and United
They had
was
Spirit, Southwest, Frontier, Alaskan. I don't think there's Alaskan, but
Hey, you never know.
But was Alaska one of the airlines that had those 737 issues too, or was it just?
I think the Alaskan was the one where the door fell off.
that was the door one.
Yeah.
Who else was having issues?
I don't keep up with airline
Aviation
updates
news.
too.
The closer you get to flying, the less you should read about air accidents. You know, it's for your own peace of mind. It's,
Yeah.
My buddy, where I could call him, he works for like a maintenance company. He might know.
Yeah.
that's one of those, sometimes too much information is not a good thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's interesting the number of people that I'm finding out that like either their flights were delayed coming in here, or they just chose. They're like, oh, I'm getting here Tuesday night, and I'm like, what? You already missed the whole first day of the show, and you're going to be jet lagged for the following day. I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I have to acclimate. You know, I can't do the. It took me the first 48 hours just to get my hydration sorted out. You know,
Even 2 hours. Like I woke up at 6 this morning, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't have to be up for another 2 hours. Like go back to bed, brain. But it's like, nope, it's time to get up.
we're still on home time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of the things that you're trying to do besides obviously podcasting, what's in the wish list for you for coming out of SHOT Show?
So we brought our media guy out here. We got a camera guy now that does like a bunch of video work and product photography for us. So he's out here. He's going to be walking the floor with some of our guys, getting content on the floor, getting content up here, you know, kind of just trying to get a lot of media content, you know, kind of build up our YouTube fan base a little bit and get out some good educational stuff, you know.
How did they do for, like, because obviously you guys are retailers, manufacturers.
Yeah.
Did they give you a hassle about media badge, or did you run it under like the retail or the other operations? Like,
So we actually don't have any media badges. It's all just retailer badges, and I hope we hadn't really considered that. You know, it's a small camera, so it's not a huge camera. It's about the size of one of
I don't
those.
think they'll hassle. I just wasn't sure if it was something where like you were doing like 3D chess on them, and you were like, oh, I have a media company now. I can get, because I have no idea I would assume the media has a different price point for their badges.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they do. It might be just all of us be media.
Cost savings, yeah.
It also might be interesting next year because didn't they have a media day yesterday at the range as well?
Yeah.
It might be
At one of the ranges, at least.
Yeah, something to look into for.
So we might be Big Tex Production Company.
You heard it here first, people.
But yeah, so that's the main thing for us is kind of getting content. And then again, seeing all of our friends and just being around for those chance encounters that always seem to pop up.
I mean, this is pretty much it. People talk about NRA, but it's like this is the place if you're going to see people. If they only go to one trade show, it's this one.
Yep.
As a retailer, what are you looking at as far as? Since I have to do a presentation to retailers tomorrow, what are you seeing or prognosticating for trends for the coming year?
Carry dots are becoming a lot more popular. I mean, pretty much every manufacturer now has a factory option with a red dot already on it or compatible now. 5 years ago, that was not the case. So we're seeing that trend. And then just like the new shooters that are coming in and we trying out the rental guns, with and without a red dot, everybody wants the red dot.
Yeah. And
it might be like a shield, it might be like a lesser, like a Crimson Trace or I don't know, whatever kinds that come on them and stuff. But, for the novice shooter, that's all they need. But they're still picking a dot over irons because they recognize the benefits from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's having been around when you're showing a friend that's never shot before, and you're like, okay, see the bumpy thing up here, you gotta line up between this thing. It's just like so many things for them to keep track of. In addition to
how do I grip it? How do I, the safety and
it's I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'm waiting from a holster manufacturing perspective. I'm like, we keep getting closer and closer to like standardized footprints, right? Like we need whatever the USB-C version of optics mounting and optics footprint is going to be, because it's like you rewind the clock and think about like the early days when it was like, you know, when Kelly McCann and Bowie was doing like the optic was at the back of the slide, then your rear iron was in front of it, and now we're getting to the point where it's like people are like, iron sight, schmiron sight.
Yeah.
You know, it's but from a person who had to make the containers to put the guns in, it was always such a frustrating thing, because like even right now there's some military clients where they've spec'd suppressor height sights that are so preposterous. They look like the keel of a sailboat but sticking up off the top of the gun. And you're like, dude, I can't make a dedicated tool for just your setup. So that means we're just going to bend some Kydex for this thing and call it good enough. But it's like, okay, we're getting close. It feels like things are sorting out. You're going to have like the Acro, like it's a big boxy thing, right? And you're going to have an open emitter footprint, and then it's like, okay, you get to have the little slimline guns, and then now all of a sudden it's revolvers, right? Like everybody's on the revolver thing. Now I'm like, oh, you know they're going to put dots on them instantly. So we have to solve that problem as well. But yeah, is there any stuff that you've either seen press releases for already, or had heard rumor mill stuff about that where you were like, I'd like to check that out while I'm there? Like, is there anything you're like, oh, I want to get hands on with that while we're here?
I want to see the new Hudson from Daniel Defense.
Yeah,
I think that'd be kind of cool. I have an original one, in the box. I got the box, got the filter holster for it, the cover of recoil magazine. It's all a little. So I've got one of those, and I don't shoot it anymore just because the parts and the braking and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to keep it as is. So it'll be nice to see like the revamped version of that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling I would like to think that, given Daniel Defense's manufacturing history, especially with with the SOCOM stuff, that's like they probably worked out some of the other issues that the pistol had, the fleas that were inherent to it. But it's a very polarizing gun.
Yeah.
Like, and especially because within our circle of friends, there's people that had, in some manner, a degree of involvement, either directly or tertiarily, that like how it all went down. It did not leave a good taste in people's mouths. But it was also one of those things where it's like, is that going to be like the Singer 1911 of like the future, right? Where it's like it's so rare and nobody has the the original batch of them.
Yeah. I think Holosun jumps to my plate too. They had a bunch of posts on Instagram the last couple of weeks of like new stuff they're coming out with, and we sell a lot of Holosun, so not that we carry all their options, but some of their stuff looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, is it something, and this is actually a question I always find interesting for retail, because everybody does it a little differently, right? Mm-hmm. When it's like, okay, we have this product category, we like this line, but it's like deciding what SKUs from each product line that you're going to carry, and then when you make the determination, like we're gonna clearance this one out because we're going to transition to this, or we just think that's run its course, we're going to move those dollars over into some other product category to keep them turning. But like, how do you guys make a determination as far as like what stays in the boat, what gets thrown overboard on is it a monthly thing, a quarterly thing, a yearly thing? How do you guys make that decision?
It usually varies. Usually about once a month, we do like an agent inventory report and see like how long it's been since we sold the last one, how long it's been sitting there, what the turn is, and kind of monitor that. Ian does a lot of the reordering on our high volume SKUs and stuff. We're trying to go wider in our SKU count just to have more options available. Back when supply constraints were the issue, it's easier just to order a lot of one thing and be like, here's what we have. If you want it, we've got this. But now in the environment that we're in now, we kind of need to go wider to appeal to all the different, because stuff is everywhere. So they have a lot of options, and we're trying to do that. But
well, I mean, you guys have the square footage to handle it too.
Yeah, we now have a little bit more square feet at the warehouse, so that definitely helps. And it's spread out pretty much now. We don't have anything like on the bottom shelves or the top shelves, so everything's like easy to pick. Yeah. And then if we need to, we can always put stuff in those places. But right now nobody has to bend over or get a ladder to get stuff, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's. I would, in a perfect world, I'd love to be able to offer colors of a whole slew of things. But then you start doing the math on like, well, if I'm going to do this, do I only do it for this one model fit, or do I have to do it across it? And it's like when we stopped making Coyote Brown as a standard, you could get it in black or Coyote Brown because it was the GWAT. Everybody needed brown shit, and it's like you turn brown off as an option, and it basically cut the amount of warehouse space we needed in half because thankfully moving to a lot of ambidextrous designs helped with that as well. But in the old days when you had left hand, right hand, black, Coyote Brown, Ranger Green, Arc'teryx Wolf Gray, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And that's like something for like reordering is like, I look at it a lot too, is like black, tan are top sellers. So, having more of that item, and then like, we sell a gray Magpul stock, but it's one every 20 days. So it's like, okay, I'll have one for that one dude that buys that, but then, I can get it the next day if we do sell that. And it's not a huge hassle.
Yeah, well, and you guys geographically, aren't you located pretty well as far as like being able to get top off from a lot of your suppliers? Like if you need it, it's not really, if they have it in inventory, it's pretty quick to your doorstep, right?
Yeah, for like the high turn stuff that we get from RSR, they're in Fort Worth. So
we get it
ships
next day.
Oh, that's great.
So that's really nice. So we run a little bit leaner on that side. But then if there's like, stuff from other suppliers that might have a longer lead time, we go deeper on those. But we're trying to run, closer to just in time on the RSR stuff because we'll let them carry the inventory, and then if we can get the next day, like we run out, okay, cool. Or if we're about to run out, like, hey, you're going to run out in 3 days. Our system will tell us. So we order before we run out, and then that's the goal is to like be right before you're about to run out, have it reorder, and then
that's very Lean Six Sigma of you.
Which is really good now. But if we ever go back into a time, when supply becomes an issue and your entire supply chain gets disrupted, then that's where it creates an issue.
Yeah, for like height of COVID.
So like mags, we have pallets of those.
Yeah.
Like in reserve, like more than 120 day, a year supply sometimes. Mags we always have stocked pretty deep. There's some items that we stock deep no matter what, just in case,
Yeah. Well, and then it makes sense because nobody can ever predict when some politician is going to make a speech and create a problem for the supply chain.
Oh, yeah.
It's happened a million times in the last decade, It's but yeah, it's like these aren't going to go bad.
Yeah.
We have to rotate our Magpuls so they don't go bad. our mags.
Yeah, you're not running a produce stand like it's
exactly. Yeah.
No, I think that's the thing that when I look at like. Also how a lot of companies were forced to order in order to get allocations from the manufacturers and the distributors during those crunch times where it's like, well, you have to take this pallet of other junk, right? Like we happen to have that. So if you take that, you can get this ammo, but like the ammo is going to be a minute. But this thing's going to land on your doorstep, and the net 30 is going to start ticking the moment it gets there.
Like, we have a pallet of Turkish shotguns that you need. We're like, do we, though?
Needs a strange choice of word for that. No, I think that's the thing that the longer I'm in this industry, the more that I'm fascinated. People ask me about, like, some new gun there's a press release about it. I don't know, man. I haven't paid attention to the gun, but the machinery of the industry is actually really kind of fascinating to me now because you realize that there's always another guy hanging his shingle for the first time, and there's always somebody you're like, whatever happened to that guy? And you go and look, the website's down, and you're like, oh, well, it's like I think it's probably a lot like the restaurant business where it's like, 10,000 new restaurants open every year, but the total number of restaurants hasn't really changed by more than a percentage point in the last 20 years. So the churn's pretty tough over here. But I think like for us even, we've been pivoting. We went from so much demand, not enough ability to supply back in the day, to, okay, we got to fix that problem. So we went aggressively into injection molding, solve that supply problem permanently, right? Like I can bury you under holsters.
Supply will not be the issue.
Right. And then you realize that, like, now we've come full circle where it's like we went from I need it because I'm getting on an airplane to go to another country and I need it now, to now when you start focusing more back on like the consumer market side of things, people are looking for more of an experiential thing. It's like when they shop with you, they're not. You can go on Amazon and order almost any of this stuff, well, with the exception of the firearms, right? But like, you know, they go to your website to order from you for a reason, because it's like all the way your brand touches them, and the way you guys treat them. And I think that like that's part of why we started looking toward like, okay, well, what could we do as a brand, you know, to kind of pull things back to, you know, the excitement we had as a company internally in the early days, you know, because you get kind of mud-sucked into dealing with what are your daily problems. And when the daily problem is like, when I opened my inbox back in the day, it was Tom Finnis and me on Facebook answering every question, every complaint, and you go through the customer service emails together, and it's like 90% of them are like, why do I have to wait so long for my holster? So it becomes like, I gotta fix that for them. And then the opposite end of that is like, as soon as everybody can get it, well, that takes some of the excitement of the experience away from it.
Yeah.
And so I think we've seen it with like all the drop culture stuff where it's like, oh, we got this drop of swag, this new thing, and it's like, I think, you know, Hodge is a great example of like if you could just go anywhere and buy a Hodge gun, like it'd be great. There's lots of rifles everywhere, but like
some people only want it because you can't get it.
Yeah,
you know? Kind of like Stanley Cups, or you know. Okay, that's a good soundbite right there. No, but like, I mean, it's a phenomenon that you see in other you know, industries. Like, it's the exclusivity.
Yeah.
So when Stanley Cups become accessible, then all of a sudden they're gonna probably go away.
Well, yeah, there's that. Like, okay, it's a commodity, and then something makes it not a commodity. Like, how many places can you buy an insulated mug for your car? Right? Like, they're everywhere, and there's 10,000 brands of them, and it's like Stanley's been around forever. How did that? You know, but somebody had that moonshot of a marketing idea, right?
Yeah.
And it hit. It was just the right thing at just the right time, and you know, some social media manager could have been asleep at the wheel, and that event had happened, and they could have not even reached out to the girl who had the car fire thing, right? And it's like, think of what they would have missed out on. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, that's in our industry. We're always like trying to figure out like, okay, how do you bring that magic back? And so we started developing like sort of an internal focus. We're like, let's just do it's not what's next as far as like what's next 90 days. It's like, what's next from the future? Like, what can we reach out and do like the really something kind of like trailblazing again?
The future's now, old man.
Yeah. Well, and I've always laughed about it because, you know, we would drop a new line extension for like the Perrin or another magazine carrier, and people are like, okay, cool, but whatever, you know. And I get it in a way when it's like, if your idea of RCS is tied to like, remember when the Vanguard 2 was brand new and no one had ever seen anything like that before, and it's like, it's like, unfortunately, I can't drop an Eidolon or a Vanguard 2 or a Phantom every month.
Yeah.
But I was like, we need to actually kind of have that sort of mindset. So we really kind of were like, okay, we've got these other projects running internally, line extensions for existing products, and you know, contract support for various clients there. But then it was like, what's something for us? We want to do the thing. And we looked back on the old days when we had the custom shop, where it was like, if you bought a gun and you had your gun and your light and your optic, and you knew you could go on the website and pick every little feature you wanted. Oh, I want this much cant. I want this, and we were like, that kind of semi-bespoke experience was I think, especially for people that had higher end firearms, that was like the big deal. It wasn't your average Glock 19 guy that did it. It was the guy that had bought the Glock 19 and sent it to ATEI and had the slide cuts and the stippling and the mounted optic, and especially back then when putting an optic on a pistol was a big, you know, you were a trailblazer. And so it's like, okay, if you're spending a few $1,000s on a handgun, and like my $50 injection molded holster is not exciting enough to put with it. it's totally serviceable. It'll do the job, but it's like, okay, well, and also like if you put a crazy comp or something like that, it's like how do you give those people something when it's like we built this entire mass production process, and it kind of turned our back on the original core customer base, where it was like these were people that when we would go gun show to gun show making holsters in toaster ovens in the aisle of a gun show. We're like, how do you merge those two worlds? And so we went really aggressively into exploring new manufacturing methodologies and different technology, different design software. I'm pretty thankful we have a good, smart group of guys. You guys know our designers and stuff, and the process started, I think the first email where we officially gave this thing like, okay, this is a live ball, this is a real project internally, and it has a requirements document, and we're which is hard to do, right? Creating a requirements document for a thing where you're like, I don't know, be innovative and do a thing, but like, how do you, it's real easy to make a requirements document when it's like, hey, there's a new model of SIG coming out, we need to make a parent and a magazine carrier to correspond with it. So, long and short of it, and you guys, I mean, we were looking at the stuff beforehand, but it was like, okay, we needed to rethink like why things were done a certain way, and it was like if you pick up pretty much any holster, it looks like the gun that goes in it to some degree or another, and that's just a byproduct of the manufacturing. Like if it starts off as a flat piece of Kydex or Bolteron, and then you heat it up and make it floppy, and then you compress it either using a vacuum former or compression mold, it's going to shape like whatever you wrapped it around. And then when you deal with injection molding, different process, but because of how polymer flows when it's in that kind of molten state, you still are kind of restricted by how thick you can make the parts, and how you have to have a consistency of that wall thickness of the material in order to keep everything filling and holding its shape and strength properly. And so we were looking into other things, and it was like there's an amazing amount of stuff in additive manufacturing that's just like really kind of jaw-dropping, because in the old days everybody's been prototyping with 3D printers for years. I mean, I've got a dozen different 3D printers. It's almost like a museum, because like when one you get a better one, that you're kind of like, what am I going to do? Throw this one out, or So it's just like looks like one of those evolutionary charts where but
your baby's gonna be like, Dad, show me your antique 3D printer collection.
It's true, and I'm like, some of them, we've held on to them past the point where it's even like, we probably could have listed that on like Facebook Marketplace, but now it's like somebody would probably want to charge me to come take it out of there. Like you're paying for gas, right? But yeah, so obviously like the context of what the finished 3D printing parts looked like is very different too, because they went from being like these brittle little flimsy things, and then you remember during COVID when everybody was printing face shield brackets and stuff, and it was like, okay, there's a whole universe that's like way, way, way beyond that, to the point where it's like you're making parts that are every bit as strong as parts I can make in an injection mold. But the really exciting part is I can make them in shapes that I could never make in an injection mold, and they're made in shapes that I could never bend a piece of Kydex or Bolteron, because it's just not possible to do it. And even if you could bend it into that shape, you'd compromise the strength or durability of the material. And so I'll do like a little bit of an evolutionary walkthrough, because this is kind of, and I don't, do you guys do like B-roll separately, or do you?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something afterward with a little bit of B-roll, so that way it's like, because from a distance it may
I was just thinking about that. I was trying to figure out how we can get a decent shot of it with the camera setup that we have. But yeah, our camera guy's on the way back, so we can probably get some B-roll of it and up-close shots for everyone on YouTube.
So this was like one of the first iterations of this, and it still looks like a holster that we would have made in an injection mold, right? Like it was like the best way I could describe this model was we were trying to make a dove bar around a gun, so that when you were when you put the gun in your holster and then put it inside your pants, it's like, well, there's a lot of angles and edges and shapes to a gun that aren't in any way conducive to comfort or concealability. And we were like, well, let's try to like mask over that. But we went through a process as within the design team where it was like trying to get people to think in the medium that we were working in instead of designing as if we were making an injection molded part, right? And so this one, you can tell it still has a lot of, reminiscent DNA of like some Eidolon and some Perrin as far as like the shape of the sight channel and the nose of it and everything. And it was like one of our first times playing around. I think that's for a Glock 19 here. If you want.
Oh, there we go.
And it did not. When we were doing this, it was like, okay, this is just a proof of concept for exterior shape, right? So like we didn't build any retention features in. That overhook was thrown on at a last second in the design process, just so it was like, okay, if we're going to put it in our pants, it's got to have something to hold onto the belt to try it out with. But it was like, okay, not quite what we're looking for, but it sometimes you have to fuck up the first pancake to make the rest of them come out without the burn marks on them, Yeah. And then it was like also kind of an interesting challenge because during this time period, like one of our designers is he's been with the company for a long time. He's currently on a leave of absence because he's went off to become a Green Beret. So so he's busy.
Other pressing matters.
Yeah, he's busy doing commando shit. But like the thing is that like when you have this group of guys that have worked together and we've ideated on stuff so many years together, and it was just a process. And I show this because it's like I'm not proud of this, but I'm proud of what it indicates, which is like the like, okay, break the mold, like get away from thinking about how we used to do this stuff. So then what we started really digging into was like, okay, let's get rid of any notion of the what the gun is, because like even you can see along here where it's like, oh, there's still the channel for the controls to pass through, and it was like, well, that doesn't need to be present on the exterior just because it needs a slot on the interior for that.
Yeah.
But again, that was a problem that when we would design for other materials, you have to, if you're going to have it inside, it has to also be present outside.
Yeah.
And so what we did was like, no, just like fill in any low points. Like we're looking for like a nice bar of soap, kind of shape. So now you move evolutionarily into this, and I don't have any like the kind of intermediary where we're like, oh, we like this one little aspect of this, throw the rest of this out. But what we ultimately ended up getting toward was, okay, the material allows us to make these shapes, and it allows us to position things almost in infinite number of positions that we wouldn't have been able to do, because like, when we designed the Eidolon, it was like you got to have hardware attachment points for over here for if you want to attach these wings to make it for strong side carry. Well, in this case, if it's like you're not ever producing for inventory, like the concept of an additive manufacturing is like every one of these is a one-off.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody wants one, you make it to their order, right? And so this, I'm trying to think what would be the best way to show them in sequence here. Let's go with this as kind of a next little sequence here, because this is one of those great things where it looks weird. It doesn't make sense because it's fucking enormous, right? Like this is kind of a monstrosity, but you can see it almost has that I don't know, like an F-22 kind of vibe to it, where it's like the shapes are almost like designed to deflect radar crossing kind of thing. But what we were going for is we realized like, okay, well, in the old days, you always had to think, where do we have to leave an allowance for attaching a claw, because you need to be able to tuck the grip for an appendix carry holster, and you need to have a place where you can attach the wedge. And then when it was like, you don't have to attach anything, you can it's part of the holster. And so this was one of the examples of where we were like, hey, we need a wedge, but what's the purpose of the wedge? The wedge is to like keep the gun up against your upper torso so it's not like tipped out away from your belt line. Mm-hmm. And then we're like, well, what if the shape of the holster was just designed to align with your body, and then you don't need to put a claw for any kind of leverage. It's just it just fills the void, the natural anatomical shape of your thing. So even though this thing looks ridiculous, you guys were wearing it a little earlier.
Yeah.
It's like the grip tuck is, on this one in particular, on me, it is so severe that it's the first time in a long time where I've had to be so slow reholstering, because I have to tuck the butt up to, it's practically rubbing against my gut, because it's tucked in so tight.
Yeah.
But again, the whole purpose behind, showing this as an example is like, when you don't have to follow the contours of the gun, you can follow the contours of the body that's going to be carrying the gun. And as a result, it's much more comfortable. It's much more concealable. And it just like in the old days when it was like trying to get people to wrap their heads around the fact that by putting a wedge and a claw on a holster and making it bigger, it actually made it easier to hide. It seems counterintuitive until you put one on and you're like, oh, no, that makes total sense, right? So then from there, we were like, that's an interesting space, because like when you're doing additive manufacturing, you have to be like, well, we don't have to make it solid, right? So you want to like create some hollow space. And then we were like, well, that's a pretty big space. It's practically park a car or motorcycle in there, And then we were like, well, maybe not a car, but what if, I don't know, like I've made fun of sidecar holsters for years, because it's like this big, wide codpiece thing that
UFC championship belt.
Yeah, and like, or your Texas rodeo guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just this, The trouble is that when you've got this big, wide, flat thing, and I love it when you guys put a claw on the one side of it, right? It's like, okay, cool. When you realize when you cinch your belt down, the whole thing's stiff. The mag carrier now is like opposite.
Now your mag is printing.
Yeah, like all you're doing is fighting forces that are like not meant to. And so guys put like door hinges and bungee cords and all kinds of stuff to make it. And I'm like, this is like the long way around the mountain, right? And so we played around with this, and this is almost like the auto show concept car idea, where it was like this was started off as a laugh, and the more we played with it, the more it was like, that's actually kind of cool. So this is it's not a sidecar, because it's more like a piggyback.
Yeah.
And it looks enormous. It's a large holster, and yet when you put it on and carry it, you're like, oh wow, because I don't have to deal with the fact that it's not like the spare magazine's way over here. It's like it's tucked in right behind, and when the pistol's out of the holster, the void from the holster provides you place for you to index. But like if you were trying to draw your magazine out with the gun in there, it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Right. But why am I speed reloading with the gun in the holster still? Right. But again, this is evolutionary phase. I think you can see this is from 22.
Yeah,
August 22.
Yep.
There's about, I think there's 20 people in the industry that were sent one of these to be like T&E type people, and I believe 3 of them were abroad doing the Lord's work. And so it was interesting, because we had originally been like, hey, give us some feedback on these, and they're like, oh well, on our next trip they're going with us. And I was like, wait, I'm not saying they're ready for prime time, because like even with that, we hadn't figured out, like, okay, internally there's 1,000 ways we can solve the riddle of retention. I can do active, I can do passive, I can create little plug-in modules, I can do all kinds of different things. And that one's, as you can feel, it's like it's kind of just a bucket, right? Like there's nothing really fancy going on inside of that one. But the guys were so into how it carried and concealed, they were like, let's go give it a rip in real life stuff. So, it's kind of a neat feeling realizing that something that we started off and was originally like, let's just see if it's even possible to make this print, to come out with something like that and have it be immediately seen the value of by other people. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're hunting down a right path.
Yeah.
So you take this and evolve it a little bit, and you end up getting to something even sexier. because when you streamline everything, you take the the magazine out of the wedge area, and you just create a holster body that's like the smoothness and the it's like the featurelessness of the exterior is so comfortable, and then the fact that we have the options to like we could realistically offer people like a dozen different types of retention. Like, do you want magnets? Do you want mechanical interfaces for an active retention? Do you want just a passive retention with a click? The ways you can accomplish it are myriad, because all you have to do is design the file and it's there for forever, right?
Yeah.
And it's for us, we realized as we were like, okay, this thing's working. The materials are robust. We've been pounding the shit out of them for a couple of years now. So it's not a matter of like, well, they're not going to be durable, or how is it going to wear the finish. I have been really fascinated to see how when we've handed them to people, like guys that know plastics and manufacturing, they're like, oh, yeah, you're doing additive. And it's like, yeah, but to a lot of people that have seen this, they're like, well, so how many molds are you going to make? And I'm like, no molds. Because a lot of people think that's an injection molded product if they didn't know about that type of manufacturing. So, but it's everything from how you're going to attach the belt attachment hardware to whether or not you wanted to, heck, if I wanted to create one for a pistol with a light, and then somebody was like, but sometimes I like to take the light off. I'm like, well, I can give you a little printed slug of your light that just goes down in there, and you're like, I can do any of these things. All of a sudden, the options that are there become, it's like, just like when we're talking about inventory and stock, and it's like you add a color, what that downstream effect to your SKU count is. In this case, it's like, yeah, it's how many files there are related to a particular product line. But at the end of the day, the more files there are, just like you guys are trying to go wider now, it's like there's more options for people.
Yeah.
I can accommodate the wishes of a broader audience.
Exactly.
And so we're just looking at this as like, this won't mean that like I take my injection molds and throw them in Lake Erie with all my car batteries, but like,
that explains a lot about Lake Erie.
But there is something to be said for like when you have a manufacturing process where if you need 10,000 of them, you can have them, and you can have them fast, and you can have them at the price point you need them to be. And then to also be able to offer something with agility and
completely custom.
Yeah, customizability. And let's face it, this still will never be as intimate of an experience as when you would walk up to our table at a gun show and hand us your new 1911 and come back 2 hours later to pick up the holster that the guy, like Jay's standing right there, he made that for you, right? Like, it's not going to have like the little engraver pen initials on the back and says the date and when it was made. But it will have the date it was made and this, the SKU and everything like that of what it was. Yeah. So that if you lose it, you decide you want another one, but for a different, like, you've kind of got the recipe already.
Yeah.
And so you're not starting from scratch being like, now which option did I pick for this or that? And so this is the other side of it, is like, there's build a library of files, which has been ongoing. And then there's how do you sell these things?
Yeah.
And it's like e-commerce nightmare to a degree.
Yeah.
Because you have to find a way to guide the customer through the shopping experience without you sitting on the phone with them being like, okay, now you see that? Yeah, that means.
Yeah. We get people asking all the time, hey, what's your phone number? And it's like, no, that's not going to help your problem.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we just prefer you don't call. Right? Well, I love John at Filster did AI bot, right? For their, and it's like, it's that sort of thing where it's like how everyone's needing to find a way to solve the problem of like the customer experience, because we are dealing with weapons here, right? Like there's a safety and kind of competency level that has to be addressed. And so I like seeing when John first messaged me to show me the bot, and he was like, hey, go kind of pressure test it, to like ask it some weird stuff and see what it does, right? And I'm like, that's what this industry needs, is people like looking for like the other, the unthought of thing, right? Like what's the quote? I'm probably going to say the same thing I did last year, but like it's a quote attributed to Henry Ford, but it's kind of apocryphal. I don't think anybody ever actually found proof of him saying it, but it was like, if I'd given the people what they wanted, it'd been faster horses, right? And this is something where nobody's asking for this, but we think it's badass, and we're really excited about it. As a matter of fact,
like a lot of times people don't know what they want until it's actually presented to them. Like,
right.
Like most people could never come up with that, but like I never would have thought of that. But then I see it and I try. I'm like, oh yeah, actually I think I do want that.
Yeah, makes sense once you have it. Yeah,
that big blue one I tried on, I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is quite comfortable.
We'll have to do some B-reel stuff, because it's like handling it like this, it's out of context, right? But like seeing it on a body and being like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to work like that. I wish we had some airsoft, because this is for the Glock 48. This is basically a product improved version of this early prototype. So this was made in August of 22, and this was made like last week.
Okay.
And I will say, I carried this for about a month and a half, and it's cool. But for me, I was kind of like, well, I don't know that in every instance I want appendix carry from a magazine. I do a pocket carry for most of the time on a pocket shield in a 10-speed pouch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I just like to have it out of the way. The odds of me getting into a gunfight are so remote, but also the odds of me living long enough in a gunfight to actually go to slide, lock, and reload is even more remote. But still, I carry a spare magazine. But in any case, we just looked at like where guys were having hot spots and where, what their issues were with concealment. And it was like, you just like we talked about with the sidecar, the dilemma is you can cure one place where it prints and create another printing issue, right? And so like we experimented with like the orientation of this magazine, because if you're not bound by it has to be on this plane or this plane that it moves, it can move almost like a ball bearing inside of this space. It gives you the ability to make changes, and we had versions of it. We printed. We're like, we'll tweak this so that it's a little more rotated forward. And what you find out is like, that's worse, because this thing, the top of the magazine prints like crazy now. The gun's disappears, but, or, I got a little bit of table muscle these days, a few too many cocktails, and it's like the back corner of the magazine on one of the versions was just wearing me out. I had a bruise on my belly from where it was like gut resting on magazine, but the angle of it was just pushing it back in. And then you'd buckle your seatbelt in the car, and it was just like... So what we did was, obviously, you go from a double stack to a slimline. The form factor diminishes significantly.
Yeah, it's like half the size.
But this thing, the guys are already, I think there's a X macro version that should be any minute now coming out. But like the way this one rides in comparison, and again, this will be, we're talking about it now, the B-roll will show a little bit better the size comparison, but it's like you can see it's flatter, right? Like it's, and so, you migrate where the belt attachments are, and all of a sudden it's like it totally changes the ride experience. And we even experimented. We had versions with belt attachments that didn't require any screws or bolts or anything. And that was one of the big complaints we've always had, which is like, I did not know I was buying an erector set to, have this project that was going to take me 2 hours to put my holster together. And so we were just trying to address those things in a way that was like, again, actually speaking in the language of the country you live in, which is like, if you're in additive, you need to think in additive. And so this is the slimmed down version. And you can also feel like there's a significant weight difference there too, because we didn't do any of we were just trying to get the iterations done. It was like, there's design work that has to go into taking interior volume away. Mm-hmm. So being able to slim it down and make it lighter But this is something that, like, there will be...
Can you go get Don Edwards downstairs?
Yes.
He just texted me.
There will be updates going out via our email list But like our big plan was, this is something that we probably will have a dozen different models of products within this family, but we're going to come out with one to start and we'll continue to add to it. But then within each product family, it's like I'm wanting this to be like in the old days. If you went on the old custom shop, it was like we had more gun and light fits than anybody.
Yeah.
And you'd hit the drop down and people would just be like overwhelmed because they're like, I don't even know which model my Glock is, right?
Yeah.
But like the goal is to make it where it's like, did you buy something at the gun show this weekend that was something you always wanted from your collection? It's like, well, in theory, and this is where it's like at some point I'm probably just going to have to break down and like just get an FFL because then it's like just send me the gun.
Have a library.
Yeah, because once it's like once I design for it, it's there for eternity.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so and like the ramifications of being able to then if somebody's got their Ruger P89 that they really want one of these holsters for, like you're not gonna like the price tag for your $200 Ruger, but by God, we'll get you one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we playing around with that with that piggybacked magazine that's acting as the wedge, basically. Yeah. Then we were also like, well, what if we just treated the magazine carrier as its own separate part? And so that's where something like this came into being, which was an AIWB pistol mag carrier, and obviously that one is. It's got a Arredondo +5 on it. It's just a standard Glock 17 mag, but the way that we've been, and funny enough, that to me with the base pad carries more comfortably than just a factory base pad. Yeah, because the shape is just like it's
all it slims it all into one. Just
and so it's again it's tough to be like, oh, let's go on a podcast, talk about black things that hold black things that like there's no contrast, there's no it's very hard to see, but when you see it in use on the body, and there's still like we talked about before, there's stuff where it's like I can let you shoot it from one angle but not the other angle because there's still we're revealing some of the secrets but not everything right out of the gates. And we actually have a running bet back at the office because it's like, well, how long from the moment this video drops until the knockoffs start appearing, right? Like because it's like all of a sudden. That is the other thing about this space is there is no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Like there are elements to this that there would probably be some barrier if you were doing more involved active retention and things like that, where it's like, okay, you'd have to do some actual engineering and know what you were doing. But like if you go out and look in the maker space, I mean, the stuff guys are making. I mean, there's rifle accessory companies where everything they're doing is additive, and I think it's the natural evolution of the industry. And we've talked in years past about like intellectual property and what everybody's opinions on it. I'm not a big fan of the concept, so it's one of those like it annoys me when people copy stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, that iterative process is what advances the industry. So, but yeah, that's the stuff that I was like, when I reached out to you, I was like, I got new things I want to show you. It was for this, and I felt like doing it at SHOT Show a year after we had our first interview together was like, it seemed like a fitting way to do it. And also, you guys are such great friends of ours that like if I was going to show it to the world on some kind of video format, it seemed like this was the likely place to do it. So I appreciate you letting me do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on and showing us off the cool new stuff. It was really cool to be able to to actually see it, to put it on my body and actually feel it, because like when you pulled the blue one out, I was like, holy shit, that thing's big.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense really. Also the fact that it's blue, it looks ridiculous. It's just this, like, it's a toy. So, but yeah, we'll get some extra photos and videos, be real stuff for you, and I'll probably be doing a press release here in the next 48 hours or so to like announce stuff, and then I'll mention in there, because I know you guys probably won't get this edited down until after you're back home from the show and stuff, but like I'll make it known that like, hey, there's going to be video coming from Big Tex. They had first access to this. So
oh yeah, nice.
But, again, I really appreciate you guys letting me do this.
No, thank you. Well, hey, so where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, rcsgear.com is our e-commerce site for all things holsters, concealment, that type of stuff. And we basically we just made some updates to the website, and there's going to be some additional things where we have we're adding an email list within the email list. So right, there's our normal you signed up to get a newsletter and we send you. Then there's a new thing called the Harbinger, which is basically if you really want first release access to stuff, you sign up for that list, and that's it's a deeper opt-in basically, but it then puts you at the front of the line for all of the things that are coming, and that will also we'll be pushing that on our socials so people can watch for us. But the only thing I'd say is you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook. Please, for the love of God, do not use Instagram DMs for customer service. We don't. It's hard. You need to keep your customer service stuff all pipelined through a system.
Otherwise, stuff falls through the cracks.
Yeah,
and then that's worse customer service.
Yeah, and then they email you again on Instagram, and they're like, "Hey, wait." So, but yeah, we're excited to have everybody check this out. And like I said, as we get closer to this going live, you'll see that the website will have even more changes just because it has to be able to have that kind of shopping experience. So, but yeah, I'm excited we got to do this here at SHOT.
Yeah.
I feel like this needs to be a tradition.
Yeah, it's a tradition now. We're gonna have to start coming out early. We'll do it before SHOT.
Yes. Maybe we could do it from a different restaurant each year. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Michael Goerlich from Raven Concealment. Thank y'all for watching, sticking around, and hopefully you enjoyed the close-ups that we're about that you'll be seeing. Actually, we're about to record it. We haven't recorded it yet, but you'll see it in real time.
Right after the tasteful nudes, right?
Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank y'all for watching, and thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.